We talked previously, within the context of Trump's wild response to this, the fact that the Supreme Court, in the investigation they did, was not able to find the leaker of the Dobbs decision, of course, overturning Roe v. Wade. And I have an element of this that's very fascinating, which is almost all of the individuals who would have had the ability to leak this information had to sign a sworn affidavit saying they did not, except the Supreme Court justices themselves, which I think is wrong here from the Daily Beast. Supreme Court justices didn't sign affidavits during leak investigation. Supreme Court justices were consulted in the investigation over who leaked the draft decision overturning abortion rights, but they were not asked to sign affidavits, according to a memo by Supreme Court Marshal Gail Curley. The short statement by Curley also says none of the justices or their spouses were implicated during the investigation, which ultimately implicated no one. The statement doesn't elaborate on what questions the justices were asked. In November, conservative Justice Samuel Alito faced accusations he leaked a landmark 2014 ruling on birth control access under the Affordable Care Act, which he denied. Ginny Thomas, the wife of Justice Clarence Thomas, who vocally wants to overturn the rulings that federally protect gay marriage and birth control, has also come under scrutiny for her outspoken political persona, spearheading efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Our Supreme Court is so wild these days. So to walk you through the timeline of kind of the leak story, initially when it leaked, at least the narrative from the right wing was that it was the left. It was someone within the Supreme Court who was a left-winger who was angry about this ruling and wanted to put it out in the public so that people would protest, so the justices would switch their ruling. But as time went by, that didn't sound quite right, because I think most people can reasonably assume a justice doesn't want to be seen flipping their decision because of protests. That would make the Supreme Court seem very unstable and uncertain if all of a sudden protests broke out and a bunch of justices, or a couple or one, switched their stance on this. And so then it started to be thought that maybe a conservative within the Supreme Court, a staffer or a justice themselves, saw the fact that Chief Justice John Roberts was attempting to get some of the more conservative justices to switch over and take a more moderate position. And the concern from the conservatives within the Supreme Court may have been, if John Roberts has enough time before the final ruling is put out, he might budge someone and prevent this from being overturned. And so we're going to leak it so that it has to stay like this, and justices don't want to be seen as flip-flopping. So that seems more likely to me. It's all speculation. And then the story comes out that Justice Alito may, at least he's suspected to have leaked a 2014 ruling. That's what one of the people who he allegedly leaked it to said, at least verbally leaked this decision. And that would set a precedent where maybe Justice Alito is a little more loosey-goosey on that type of thing, and it was him. But again, all speculation, all very alleged things that I'm saying here. But that's kind of how we got to now. We don't know who the leaker is. But within the investigation, they don't even have the justices do the thing that all the other staff members have to do who had access to this material. That, to me, seems off. I think they should also have to sign a sworn affidavit, so we know it wasn't a justice, or we know at least that they committed to that under threat of perjury.